Dressed as a tragic female protagonist, she takes her 3 children to farm and counterattack. Whoever blocks the path of wealth, the old lady breaks his big teeth. The scumbag leaned aside, and the handsome uncle, the prosperous wife, stepped forward. Hahaha. Sister's wealth was rolling in. Handsome uncle. I am the best loyal dog, hurry up and snatch me home for you to guard the house. Keywords of the novel. Reborn Farmhouse. She returns with a tug oil bottle without a pop-up window. Reborn Farmhouse. She returns with a tug oil bottle. Download the complete text of the novel, Reborn Farmhouse. She returns with a tug oil bottle. Read the latest chapter. Chapter 1. Who Stolen Eggs? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Who Stolen Eggs? Soo Jinshyo is a person with a good face. Simply put, it's the kind of person who insists on saving face and suffering. So, she was killed by this stubborn personality. However, for some reason, in the blink of an eye, she was reborn from a woman named Soo Jinshyo. Smelling the moldy smell in the room and lying on the cold earth in Kong, Soo Jinshyo's mind seemed to have been in a movie, knowing the original owner of the body she relied on, the various scenes she encountered in the Young family, and her final cause of death. However, she had not fully recovered from her stupidity when the door rang and someone walked in. It's Yang Li, the eldest wife of the Yang family. Yang Li looked at Soo Jinshyo's pale face, lying there like a dead person, feeling very happy in her heart. Then he walked up to the edge of the Kong and made a long sound. With a strange aura of yin and yang, he said, I'm talking about the 4th younger sister. You say you. You have such a temper. Why should I call you sister? Law. Ah. It's a bit like the sound of a duck barking, which is very unpleasant, but it doesn't stop her from gloating. You say you, Mom, she just said Yunyao, shouldn't children steal eggs from the stove to eat? As for you, you can be so angry that you can faint for face. Sisters, you are already the mother of 3 children. Why are you still acting so improperly? Do you know how difficult it is to be a woman when you faint? You know, it's because you felt like you didn't teach your child well, stole eggs from home, and lost face before fainting. What about not knowing? It has been rumored that our neighbors must have thought our mother was so harsh and treated you and Yunyao harshly. You said you lost your mother's face for the sake of your own face. TSK, how hurt your mother's heart. Ah. Do you think this is the right thing to do? Another thing, when my mother scolds Yunyao, it's also for her good. Even if you don't appreciate it, you can't just watch this child do this shameful thing and still protect her. Yes, sister. Law, I know you are a stepmother who is difficult to do. I don't want others to say that you are a stepmother who is malicious and treats the 2 children born to your previous daughter. Law harshly. But if you have such thoughts, you shouldn't do it while your mother is scolding the children. You're doing this, 4th sister. I'm not afraid you're angry either. I think you're not protecting her, but harming her. Soo Jinshyo listened to the scolding sound like a duck's quack, then covered her head and sat up. At the same time, she also learned from the original owner's memory who this woman was. She said calmly, Sister-in-law is so considerate of the old lady, why don't you tell the truth to her? What do you mean? Yang Li saw Soo Jinshyo's eyes staring at her. Her sharp eyes were like 2 sharp swords piercing through her heart, making her feel uneasy. But she pretended to be calm and said, 4th sister, Law, I came over to advise you for your own good, but you. Why are you so ignorant of kindness? Soo Jinshyo coldly said, whoever eats the eggs in the stove has a clear idea. Why do you want to be a thief or a saint? If you were for the good of the old lady, you should have just explained to the old lady about your sister. Law stealing eggs, so that she wouldn't be that foolish person. As a result, you ate the eggs and deceived my mother. Law. She falsely accused my daughter and made me cry out for justice, but in turn, she was accused of being ill-intentioned and deliberately teaching the 2 children bad. And then you became a good person from it, sister. In law. Why are you so cunning? Do your mother. In law and aunt know what you're doing? I think if your mother. In law and aunt know that you are deliberately tarnishing her reputation, do you think she can still favor you as a niece's daughter? In law Yangli, the eldest daughter. In law of the Yang family, is the niece of the old lady of the Yang family. Her aunt is the grandmother, and her niece is the daughter. In law. That's all. You're crazy. How dare you say that about me? I'm so bad and not good. It's your sister. In law, Sue. You're too disrespectful. Yang Li seemed to have been caught as a leverage, feeling guilty. In order to cover up her panic, she became more and more angry as she thought about it. She scolded angrily, Sue, you little girl raised me. I came to see you with good intentions, but you falsely accused me, you slut. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Fierce and Fierce Women. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Fierce and Fierce Women. Su Jinxiu was already feeling uncomfortable all over, and her heart was also very depressed. Seeing Yang and Li cursing, she didn't get used to her anymore. She put on her shoes and quickly grabbed her hair, then raised her hand and slapped her stubborn old face fiercely. I'll make you curse, I'll make you curse. You shameless thing, you stole an egg yourself, but you're going to rely on my daughter and let her be blamed for you, tarnishing her reputation. Xiao Li, you poisonous woman, you still want to come to my mother's place to pretend to be a good person, I'm sorry. Yang and Li never expected that Su Jinxiu, who had always been silent, non-competitive, and easy to deceive, would suddenly explode. She grabbed her hair and beat it, unable to break free for a moment. She screamed loudly, help, help, Su killed Su. Her piercing voice was very distinctive. When she shouted out, it alarmed everyone in the Yang family's upper room and the east and west wing rooms. One by one, they ran out of the room in a daze and saw Su Jinxiu desperately pulling Yang Li's hair with one hand and a stick in the other, dragging her to the front of everyone. Su Shi, what are you doing? Why don't you let your sister. In law go? The old man of the Yang family felt that his position as the head of the family had been offended and shouted angrily, what kind of behavior are you like? Mrs. Yang has never seen such a fierce Yang Su family before. Feeling so angry that he trembled all over, pointing at Su Jinxiu and cursing, old fourth family, you little scumbag, little prostitute, you've turned the tables, haven't you? Why don't you let go of your sister. In law? Su Jinxiu fearlessly tugged at Su Li's hair again, causing her to scream and cry in pain. Her nose and tears flowed down. She is not as tall as Su Jinxiu herself, and coupled with her usual cheating and being guarded by her mother. In law and aunt, she refuses to work, so her strength is not as strong as hers. Therefore, Su Jinxiu used a fierce hand to pull up her hair, and in one fell swoop, causing her to hunch down and unable to reach anyone with her hands. In the yard, several children from the Yang family were all frightened by the gentle and weak, but suddenly violent Su Jinxiu. They stood at the door of their own houses, dumbfounded. Even the original children of the body that Su Jinxiu relied on, including his stepson Yang Shu, stepdaughter Yang Yunyao, and biological son Yang Song, were huddled like quails on the corner of the wall, trembling and trembling. The old man of the Yang family, seeing that Su Jinxiu ignored his orders, immediately became a bit angry and cursed, Su Shi, what are you doing? Ah! Why don't you let your sister. In law go? Old C is not at home, do you think no one dares to interfere with you? Don't blame my old man for not showing mercy and sending you to kneel in the ancestral hall if you're so arrogant anymore. Su Jinxiu looked at the pretentious old man from the Yang family and sneered contemptuously. He grabbed Yang Li's hand and put in more effort, saying, do you think Yang Lao Si is not at home? I, as a little woman, have no support or backbone, and can be easily manipulated and bullied, right? So, over the years, you've been hitting me whenever you want, scolding me whenever you want, doing tiring work, doing the hardest things, but not giving me enough food every day. On the other hand, you've been shamelessly saying that you raised me, raised children, and I'm sorry. You all pretend to be good people, but your hearts are like snakes and scorpions, and you still want to continue deceiving and insulting me. Do you want me to die from exhaustion at your house for the rest of my life? What are you thinking? Today, I might as well open the window and speak frankly to you young family. I, Su Jinshio, have had enough of your bullying and your ugly faces. Therefore, I will take Yang Laoxi's leave and leave your wolf's nest. What's going on? Mr. Yang and Mrs. Yang thought they had misheard and exclaimed in surprise, Mrs. Su, what did you just say? End of this chapter. Chapter 3, Go and bring 2 bowls of water. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3, Go and bring 2 bowls of water. Su Jinshio sneered, why are you all deaf and not hearing clearly? Then I'll say it again. You young family. I don't want you anymore. I don't care about your livestock son anymore, so I'm going to dismiss him. Can you hear me clearly this time? How dare you? The old man of the Yang family was criticized for his authority, unable to withstand his good temper. He pointed at Su Jinshio and cursed loudly, Su Shi, don't be reckless. This Yang family is not someone who comes or leaves whenever you want. They dare to disobey and be unfilial, disrespectful to their men. With just these 2 rules, I can send you to jail. As a special forces medical doctor, Su Jinshio was not intimidated. Looking at the infuriated old man Yang, he sneered. Then, as if provoking, she slammed Yang Lishi in her hand onto the ground. One hand still grabbed her hair, while the other foot stepped on her ankle bone. With a slight effort, the unlucky Yang Lishi screamed in pain. Ah! Ah, it hurts so much. Su Jinshio, please let me go, I beg you not to send you to jail. Su Jinshio grinned fiercely and said, that's not necessary. The Yang family wants to send me to jail. I ask all the members of the Yang family's 3rd house, they don't have the ability to do so yet. However, today Mrs. Yang falsely accused Yun Yao of stealing eggs, accusing me of being restless and deliberately raising and mistreating my stepdaughter. Okay, let's first calculate this account and reply to my reputation, then let's talk about other matters. Go bring me 2 bowls of clean water, go quickly. Everyone in the entire yard has not yet woken up from this sudden incident. Looking at Su Jinshio, who is fierce and cruel, no one knows what to do. Today's Su Jinshio changed her previous gentle, weak, timid, and afraid nature, and suddenly became fierce and ferocious, which truly overturned their previous understanding. So, Su Jinshio asked someone to bring a bowl of water, but everyone was forced to move. Did you not hear? Was it intentional? Su Jinshio saw no one moving and immediately changed his face. His eyes were like sharp swords, and he said fiercely before exerting force under his feet. Ah! Ah, it hurts so much, my foot. My foot is broken. Yang Li's face turned into pig liver after being stepped on, and her scream sounded very eerie. The old man Yang saw that his words were useless. In front of Su Jinshio, it was like farting. However, he couldn't help but feel embarrassed and his old face turned blue and purple. He shouted sternly, "What are you doing, from the 4th family? What am I going to do? Did you guys not see or hear me? I said, bring me 2 bowls of clean water, didn't you hear me?" Su Jinshio said in a faint voice. Mrs. Yang was already so angry that she was about to faint on the side. Seeing her niece's eldest daughter-in-law suffer such great injustice and bullying, her old heart was shattered. She gritted her teeth and ordered her second daughter-in-law to support her beside her. "Go, bring water to that little slut. What do I see her doing?" Yang Zhou, the second daughter-in-law of the Yang family, is usually at odds with Yang Li, both openly and secretly. However, due to her mother-in-law's favoritism, she dare not show any dissatisfaction. She can only swallow her anger and hope that her mother-in-law will die soon, so she doesn't have to endure any hardship. At this moment, seeing Yangli, who had always been high and mighty, being cruelly trampled underfoot by the fourth daughter-in-law, she felt extremely relieved and secretly cheered Su Jinxiu on. Yes, the fourth daughter-in-law continued to do so, killing this lowly little Li. She was enjoying herself when she heard her mother-in-law's order to bring Su Jinxiu some clean water. She secretly pursed her lips, but obediently went to the stove. The old man from the Yang family had an extremely ugly expression, staring at Su Jinxiu intently, wishing he could skin her. At this moment, Yang Huai, the leader of the Yang family, realized that his daughter-in-law was being trampled on by the fourth daughter-in-law in a disheveled state. He felt extremely resentful and shouted loudly, "Su Jinxiu, hurry up and let your sister-in-law go. Let's just pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, you think if you can show off for a while, you can still walk out of my Yang family door." End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Clear water verifies the truth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Clear water verifies the truth. Su Jinxiu seemed to have heard a joke from heaven and looked at Yang Huai with extremely contemptuous eyes, disdainfully saying, "Hahaha. Yang Huai, who do you think you are? Ah. How come, is your family a bandit from the mountains or a bandit from the sea? Is there a murder knife hanging on the door of your Yang family, shamelessly trying to threaten me? I also told you, Yang Huai, don't hide behind your mother-in-law and be a good third grandson. Do you think if you disguise yourself well, I don't know anything? I'm sorry. You, Yang Huai wanted to ask Su Jinxiu, what do you know? But he felt guilty and didn't dare to ask these words out loud. He could only point at Su Jinxiu, stuttering. At this moment, young Zhousher walked over with a bowl of clear water, pretending to be sad and helpless, and said to Su Jinxiu, "Fourth sister, don't be angry. What's there to say? Let's talk about it carefully. We are all a family. It's not appropriate to make such a big move and damage our family's reputation. Listen to my second sister-in-law and let her go, okay?" Su Jinxiu glanced at young Zhousher with a deadly gaze and didn't take her words. Instead, she lowered her head and said fiercely to Yang Li, "Listen to me. Give me a sip of this bowl of water, rinse my mouth, and then spit it into another bowl. However, Yang Li, sure, I have listened carefully and clearly to you. If you dare to swallow this mouthwash, I will break your ankle bone. Do you hear me?" As she spoke, with a force in her hand, a strand of Yang Li's hair, with blood streaks, was pulled off by Su Jinxiu and fell to the ground, reflecting in everyone's eyes. "Ah! It hurts me so much. Su Jinxiu, please spare me, okay?" Xiao Li's face was covered in tears, and she screamed and struggled, but couldn't resist. Because there was a huge pain coming from her ankle bone, she had to cry and beg for mercy. Su Jinxiu remained unmoved and patted her spine with the stick in her hand, coldly saying, "Did you hear what I said? Do you know what you did? Listen. I heard it. Woo-woo." Little Li dared not resist any more and could only obediently nod her head in a flustered agreement. "Give her a sip of water." Su Jinxiu now turned into a fierce and evil spirit, instructing Zhousher, "No need for too much, just a small sip, and then let her spit into another bowl." Xiao Li just wanted to quickly break free from Su Jinxiu's clutches and didn't dare to make any small moves. He grabbed Zhou's hand, took a sip of the bowl of water, and then vigorously gulped twice before spitting out his mouthwash into another bowl of water. "Ah! Egg yolk." Zhou looked at the bowl of muddy water and screamed in surprise. Su Jinxiu seemed to have anticipated it for a long time. She pointed her stick at Zhou and said, "Speak up and tell the people in the yard what you see in the other bowl." "Speak up." "What?" Zhou was taken aback for a moment. She didn't expect that the fire from the fourth and first houses would burn on her. She wanted to shut up, but it was too late. The old man from the Young family, standing at the door of the house, angrily drank at her and said, "Second daughter.in.law, what's going on? Please explain clearly. What did fourth daughter.in.law show you?" Zhou smiled bitterly. Seeing the situation, he couldn't be truthful and said in a trembling voice, "Yes, Dad. It's sister.in.law. There's egg yolk residue in sister.in.law's mouthwash." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Rabbits hurriedly bite people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Rabbits hurriedly bite people. Su Jinxiu's subordinates showed no mercy and continued to tug at Xiao Li's hair, exerting a slight force under their feet. They faced the Young family old man with a fierce expression and wished they could kill him, saying, "Sister-in-law, please tell us the head of our family and the people all over the yard who stole the eggs in the stove. Speak up." Xiao Li, seeing her own act of stealing eggs, revealed it in such a tragic manner. Not only did she embarrass herself, but she was also tormented into a disheveled dog-like state. She sobbed and said, "Yes. Yes, it was me, I stole eggs from the stove." A cooked egg is the exclusive supplement of Yang Huili, a scholar from the Yang family. Therefore, unless it's Chinese New Year, no one in the family can catch a bite. Although this little Li family is usually favored by her mother.in.law and aunt, she is generally known in the Young family. However, it is impossible to get an egg from Uncle Lu's mouth to taste the freshness and satisfy her craving. And this morning, the peeled egg, white, tender, and fragrant, was so tempting that little Li couldn't bear it anymore and hid in the stove to steal it. Eating eggs and satisfying her craving is true, but the serious consequences are not something she can resist. Therefore, Xiao Li thought of Yang Yunyao, a 6-year-old girl with 4 bedrooms. Falsely accusing such a young child of stealing, little Li has no burden in her heart, let alone any guilt. In addition, the fourth wife Su Jinxiu is not favored by her mother.in.law, and Yang Yunyao is also Su Jinxiu's stepdaughter, who is usually ignored by her stepmother. Therefore, she believes that falsely accusing Xiao Yunyao will not cause her own problems. The result of the fact is so tragic, so fierce, it is simply beyond her control. Woo woo. Fourth younger sister, please spare my sister.in.law. Woo woo. I'm not human, sister.in.law. I'm so greedy that I just stole that egg. Woo woo. Speaking of being so greedy, Xiao Li didn't care about being shy anymore. Her crying grew louder, piercing and filled with resentment. That egg. White and tender, who saw it and didn't want to eat it? Woo woo. It's so fragrant and delicious, why did Lao Lu eat it all? Ah. Why? Did he take a bite of food or water from the 3 hens at home? Why can only give him one person to eat? Why? Woo woo. Su sure, it's not right for me to accuse Lai Yunyao of stealing eggs, but such delicious eggs, I can't help it, I really can't help it. I didn't originally intend to steal food, sobbing. But I couldn't help but wonder why I could only give it to Lao Lu to eat. What's wrong with me eating one? At least I am also the eldest son and daughter.in.law of the Young family. I can't even eat an egg. Why should I be the only one who can eat it? Woo 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 woo. Xiao Li cried and shouted, telling the truth in one breath and also clarifying the truth. The courtyard suddenly fell silent. Su Jinxiu looked up at the people in the few rooms in the yard and saw that they all had a look of sadness and anger on their faces. There was empathy and resentment, but there was no sign of guilt. She sneered, I don't care if you have any resentment. However, you use my fourth child as a cushion, take the blame for you, and let people accuse me of being a stepmother. It is a malicious act to spread that I deliberately raised the 2 children in front of me, and this is your fault. So, Shaoli, you are not unjustified for what you have experienced today. Who made you have ulterior motives, and who made you think that I, Su Jinxiu, was weak and easy to bully? When you bullied me, Su Jinxiu, and my 4th child, you might have forgotten one thing. When a rabbit is forced into a hurry, it can still bite people, let alone I am a living person. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Whoever obstructs dies. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Whoever obstructs dies. Su Shi, you. You're going to mess around, hurry up. Let your sister.in.law go. Yang Huai understood the whole story, and although he felt a little uneasy, he didn't think that such a small matter was the reason for Su Jinxiu to act recklessly. A child, what does she know? What's false accusation and not false accusation? They all belong to the same family. If you have anything to say, you can let your sister.in.law go. Mrs. Yang was both angry and resentful, pointing at Su Jinxiu and cursing, little scumbag, hurry up and let your sister.in.law go. If you dare to say anything more, I'll take care of you for old 4. Su Jinxiu was completely angered by the shamelessness of this family. The wooden stick in her hand was not meant to be eaten, and she quickly and fiercely swept towards Yang Huai with a fierce expression. Ah! Plop! With a scream, Yang Huai suffered a severe knee pain in one leg, and plop landed a dog gnawing on the mud. At this moment, the entire courtyard truly realized that Su Jinxiu was taking things seriously. Little prostitute, you've turned the tide, huh? You're a slut, dare you hit your big brother? I'll see if I can crush you, you little bastard. Mrs. Yang felt sorry for her eldest son and also for her eldest daughter.in.law, trembling all over and shouting loudly. Su Jinxiu ignored her insults and coldly asked the head of the household, Mr. Yang, the eggs were stolen by little Li. What do you say? Mr. Yang had the heart to kill Su Jinxiu, but he couldn't beat this crazy slut. He could only swallow his anger and use a strategy of delaying action. He wanted to hold back his anger for the time being and save his eldest daughter.in.law first. You let go of your sister.in.law first. If there's anything we can discuss, let's discuss it, he said in a low, evil voice. Oh. You agreed to discuss it. Su Jinxiu remained unmoved, stepping on little Li and pressing the stick against Yang Huai's other knee bone, coldly saying, here are 2 paths for you. Either divide the family and go their separate ways, either I'll give up your son, and from now on, we'll keep our wells clean and go our separate ways. As for you divorcing your son's wife. Mr. Yang, do you think you can still be the master? You should know what kind of life your son is currently living, right? He brought you a message back, you should understand what he said, right? So, you want to divorce your son's wife. Just die of this heart, that bastard Yang Huaiyan. How could he possibly ask you to divorce his wife for him? Yang Huaiyan now wants to divorce his wife, but his newly married wife outside. The daughter of the Minister of Rights, how can he achieve his wish? The maid of the Ministry of Rights was ruthless. She had to wait for the Yang family to grind down Yang Huaiyan's original wife before entering the Yang family's door with dignity. Otherwise, she would be extremely unwilling to have a living Su Jinxiu appear in front of her. She didn't want Su Jinxiu to live in this world and prick her heart. This is why the Yang family knew that Yang Huaiyan had already married a new wife, but still wanted to keep the original owner Su Jinxiu. Once again, the Yang family wanted Su Jinxiu to become a servant and serve the Yang family. They wanted to wait for the eldest son Yang Shu, daughter Yang Yunyao, and youngest son Yang Song to grow up and sell them to earn some money. So, they treated the 4 original masters harshly, and corrupting the original masters was a malicious stepmother without any psychological barriers. In the eyes of these people, Yang Huaiyan has already married and had children. It is uncertain whether Su Jinxiu and her 3 children can live to see him, so why should they be kind to these 3 women? And Special Forces medical doctor Su Jinxiu was able to understand all of this because the original owner of the body she relied on overheard Mr. Yang and Mrs. Yang conspiring with her eldest son, which made her unable to bear it and she died of anger. She refused to leave easily with a trace of grievance, so she showed all the experiences she had gone through to Su Jinxiu, a Special Forces medical doctor who had come through her body, and begged her to protect her son. Only then did she leave with resentment. Although Su Jinxiu didn't want to meddle in these trivial matters, since she borrowed someone else's body and wanted to stay outside, she couldn't justify it. So when Little Li came into the house to bully her, she made a cruel move. Moreover, it is necessary for her to divorce, whoever stops her will die. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. What exactly do you want? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. What exactly do you want, Su Shi? What are you talking nonsense about? Ah. Yang Laozi was flustered and yelled at her inwardly, are you crazy? You're talking nonsense, you're crazy, right? Su Jinxiu sneered, trying to give her a crazy reputation. It also depends on whether she agrees or not. Old man Yang, come on, take a vow in front of this bright sun, saying that your son has not lost his conscience and has already married someone else, but still needs to compare his original wife and children. If this happens, the whole family will die, and there will be no children left, and the ancestral tomb will become a rotten pit. You. Old man Yang shook his body twice in anger when he heard that this poisonous oath was too cruel and terrifying. He almost pouted and pointed at Su Jinxiu, saying only one word for you, but couldn't continue. Su Jinxiu saw him pretending to be dizzy and sneered, what's wrong? Don't dare to make this oath. Or is it true about your son? Mr. Yang, today either you can give us a pleasant word and we'll split up and live separately, or you can pick up this divorce certificate for your son. Our bridge will return to the bridge, our road will return to the road, and we'll have no further involvement in the future. Mrs. Yang had already fainted from her anger, but she still held her breath and pointed at Su Jinxiu, cursing, poisonous woman, bitch, take your child with you and get out of here. Get out of this house, I don't want to see you guys, the bereaved stars, anymore. Woo-woo. Old man, let her and her sluts get lost. I don't want to see them anymore. As she spoke, she reached out and pinched Mr. Yang, whispering in a low voice, driving them out and tidying up when Huai-en returned. The old man of the Yang family was filled with resentment and wanted to refuse, but when he thought of the letter sent by his son and new daughter.in.law, he said, we must not grind people to death now. Otherwise, their future affairs will be difficult to handle. At first, Mr. Yang didn't understand what his son meant by these words, but after pondering for a few days, he seemed to have figured it out. The intention of the son and the new daughter.in.law is very obvious. They have only been married for over a year now, and the child has already been born. If Su Shi and her 3 children are killed at this time, Yang Huaiyan will not be able to bring the new daughter.in.law and beloved son back to Xia village. Because as long as you come back now, people can criticize the cause of Su's sudden death. Those who understand things will think that it was they who despised Su Shi for being eye-catching and killed her. Thinking of this, the old man from the Yang family took a deep breath and waved his hand as if driving away flies, cursing at Su Jinxiu, get out of the Yang family with your lowly seed. Get out. Su Jinxiu sneered at the words, are you just calling us 4 girls to get out of the Yang family? You're so big. Today, if you don't give us a divorce letter, you won't let our mother leave this Yang family's door. I want to see, if I don't leave this door, who dares to live on the Kong in our 4th room. Who dares? Mr. Yang couldn't have imagined that his 4th daughter.in.law, who was being rubbed by others in his family, would one day be so cruel and ruthless. For a moment, he didn't know what to do with her, standing there without saying a word. Mr. Yang saw that his wife was still stepping on Su Jinxiu's feet, and he was so anxious that he couldn't care about anything else. He stretched his neck and asked in a vicious voice, Su Jinxiu, tell me, what do you really want? Su Jinxiu gave him a contemptuous glance and asked him contemptuously, can you be the master of this family? How much can you be the master? Come on, you can talk about it first. You. Su Jinxiu's words were not very destructive, but they were extremely insulting, choking Yang Lao Da's throat and eyes. The old man of the Yang family understood that Su Jinxiu would not scatter eagles without seeing rabbits. This time, he had been stubbornly arguing with them, so he shouted to the glaring young boss, go and invite the old man of the Yang family, as well as the village chief Li Chuanhe. Let's just say that our family has an urgent matter to ask them to work hard. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Inviting the clan chief and village chief. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Inviting the clan chief and village chief. Mr. Yang looked at his father and then turned his head to look at Su Jinxiu with a calm expression. He gritted his teeth and said, You let your sister-in-law go first. Su Jinxiu ignored him and didn't bother him at all. Angry, Mr. Yang's eyes lit up and he threatened Su Jinxiu, you'd better let go of your sister-in-law, otherwise. The clan chief and village chief will come soon, and you slut won't be so proud. Su Jinxiu still didn't pick up the conversation, but instead exerted force on her hand. With a scream from Yang Li, a strand of blood-stained hair drifted to the ground in the wind. The child's father, hurry up, let Junior go and invite the clan chief and village chief, hurry up. Woo-woo, hurry up, I can't bear it anymore, it hurts so much. Xiao Li cried and called her a man, feeling extremely sad. Woo-woo-woo. Why was she injured today? Why is she so unlucky? Woo-woo, she regretted it. She shouldn't owe her a little bit to tease this crazy woman. Su Jinxiu patted Xiao Li's swollen face and smiled, the one who flirts first is cheap. It's not my fault. If you hadn't stolen eggs and framed it for my daughter, then came to sell it and accused my stepmother of being malicious, could I do this to you? So, in the future, remember not to bully honest people. This rabbit can even bite people in a hurry, let alone flesh and blood people. Are you right? Xiao Li is now lying at the feet of Su Jinxiu, with a clear conscience of regret. How could there be any more words to argue with her? The eldest son and daughter-in-law were both knocked down by Su Jinxiu to the ground, and the old man and lady of the Yang family were so heartbroken that they tore Su Jinxiu apart. And Yang Laowu's family is causing so much trouble that someone has long been running to find Yang clan chief and Li village Sheng. Neighbors gathered outside the door, watching the excitement while discussing. Look at it, Yang Laowu's family bullied people so badly that they ended up causing trouble, right? Isn't it true that Su Shi was beaten and scolded when he saw the sky drop by drop, and he didn't give him enough food to eat? Isn't that just making people anxious? Hey! How did I hear that Su is a bit crazy? Yesterday, her mother-in-law even said about this, saying that she wanted to have sex with her man and couldn't bear it anymore. Ah! What did Mrs. Yang Wu say? She. At such an old age, is it really appropriate for her to go out and tarnish her daughter-in-law's reputation? Ah! Do you also believe her words? If we want to talk about what others are like, we dare not argue with them. But Su Shi, what kind of person she is, we can still not understand her. She is good and good on a daily basis. She never competes or speaks too much, how can she be crazy? Don't listen to Mrs. Yang Wu's nonsense. Ah! Don't say that either. Who can see through what this person looks like? You all say Su is good, but now you see, she's a fuel-efficient lamp. Look. No matter how bad little Li is, she's also her sister-in-law. How could she beat her sister-in-law? It's outrageous. The villagers who were watching were discussing, and the head of the Yang family and Li village rushed over. As soon as they entered the door, a few people saw Littly with disheveled hair, blue nose and swollen face, and bloodstains. She was trampled underfoot by Su Jinxiu, unable to struggle and only sobbing. "Su, let go of your sister. Law." Yang, the head of the family, looked at the situation and drank loudly with a gloomy face. Li Chuanhe, the village chief, did not speak, but his expression was indifferent without any expression. Su Jinxiu would certainly give the head of the Yang family this face, so she let go of the little Li family. Zhou and Lin, the third wife of the Yang family, quickly stepped forward upon seeing the situation, one left and one right, helping little Li up and sending her back to the upper chamber. "Tell me, what's going on?" What's going on here?" The head of the Yang family's sinister gaze was very frightening, and he shouted at the old man of the Yang family. End of this chapter. Chapter 9 Nonsense. Smashing without lifting a stick. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Nonsense. Smashing without lifting a stick. The old man from the Yang family had the intention of splashing dirty water on Su Jinxiu, but his neighbors had seen enough of what had just happened, and he couldn't resist the slander. So, he could only hold back his frustration and vaguely say, "Uncle, this matter is not a big deal. We can solve it ourselves." But, alas, our family is unfortunate. We married such a black and white star from the Su family, causing such a shameful incident. Not only did it embarrass us, but it also tarnished the good reputation of our Yang family. Su Jinxiu looked at Mr. Yang's mouth full of feces, sneered a few times, tears of grievance in her eyes, and complained to the head of the Yang family and the village chief Li Chuanhe. "Chief, village chief, the old Yang family doesn't want us, the four of us, to be frank. Why is there such a commotion?" "Ah. I won't say much, you can take a look. Who bullies who in this family? Let's take a look at what our mothers are wearing here and what they are wearing in the other rooms. Isn't that clear? Let's talk about a village where everyone lives and not far away. Our mothers are probably able to hear a little bit about whether we are being tested at home or not. So, I don't want to say anything extra. Since you have arrived, the clan leader, and the village chief uncle has also arrived, I just want to ask, why can't the Yang family in your village tolerate the lives of our mother? We don't eat much, we don't choose what to wear, and we work tirelessly all day without saying anything. Why don't you give us a way out? Ah. Is it just because I am a woman with 3 children that I am easy to bully? Is this the good tradition of the Yang family? You're talking nonsense, you slut, you're a lowly slut, little prostitute. Mrs. Yang felt a sense of support as soon as she saw the chieftain coming. She regained her composure and pointed at Su Jinxiu, cursing profusely. The third wife of the Yang family, Lin Shi, took the opportunity to please her mother-in-law while holding her in law. Her nose was not her nose, and her face was not her face. She said, "Yes, my lord, my 4th younger sister is not behaving properly today. You said, it's just an egg thing. My sister-in-law ate it and said it was Yunyao who ate it. It's not a big deal. She's not willing to let go. Look at this crazy energy, it's like she doesn't take her mother-in-law and father-in-law seriously. Mr. Yang and Mrs. Yang heard Lin's words and looked at her, wishing they could sew her mouth with a needle. "A little slut, don't say anything if you can't speak, why are you everywhere? What makes you suffocate without speaking?" Ah. When Yang clan chief arrived, he actually knew the cause of the Yang Laowu family's farce. He remained calm and didn't look at anyone else, only asking Su Jinxiu, "You are a woman. Why did you act so harshly? Tell me, what did you plan on doing?" Su Jinxiu didn't pretend to be weak anymore, nodded, and said straightforwardly, "I'm not fussing either. Just one thing. Whoever wants me to live, I'll listen to them. But whoever doesn't want me to live, then no one can think it's better. I am not afraid of wearing shoes barefoot. If I want my life, I am not just a clay pincher, let others grind me." So, since Yang Laowu's family doesn't want to keep me, I won't just rely on not leaving. Clan chief, what about you? Just give our mother a few crisp and efficient documents to cut off our communication with the old house. As for Yang Huayan, I will wait for him to come back in Xia village. We will handle the matters between our spouses ourselves. What do you think Mrs. Yang didn't wait for Chief Yang to express her opinion before getting anxious? Little slut, do you dream of leaving the Yang family? Why don't you just die of this heart? Your father and I won't speak. I think you dare to step out of this door. Su Jinxiu saw that Mrs. Yang was going crazy again and didn't talk to her anymore. She suddenly raised the stick in her hand and hit Yang Huai, who was still lying on the ground. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. I am not the same as before. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. I am not the same as before, ah. Su Jinxiu, you son of a bitch, you want to kill me. Yang Laoda had just been hit and collapsed on the ground before recovering, only to be hit again, causing him to grit his teeth and crack his eyes in pain, shouting and cursing loudly. Su Jinxiu smashed someone, but tears streamed down her face. Her sorrowful expression was not fake at all, making it difficult for people to know whether to advise her not to hit or compromise. It was truly heartbreaking. Yang Huai, are you a person? Ah. At this moment, Su Jinxiu cried bitterly, hoarsely shouting, Ang Huai, you pat your heart and ask yourself, are those 3 children in my house your own nephew or niece? Ah. For the sake of your own house and your own child, you are ruthlessly teasing our mothers. You, a beast, are simply not worthy of being human. Su Jinxiu spoke at a fast pace. Many people didn't hear the animal husbandry thing clearly, but Mrs. Yang did. She was so angry that she rolled her eyes and fainted. Mother! Mother! Zhou and Lin screamed in shock and hurriedly used their hands to help, but unfortunately, their hands were just a short distance away, and they didn't reach Mrs. Yang. They only heard a loud thud, causing the old lady to fall hard, which was unbearable. The head of the Yang family saw that this matter couldn't continue to be so mischievous. He quickly waved at the old man Yang and impatiently shouted, give her a divorce certificate, let her take their child and move out of the Yang family quickly. From now on, whether you live or die, it has nothing to do with your room as Yang Laowu. Hurry up and write a farewell letter to her, asking her to leave quickly. One more thing, in the future, if I hear someone from the Yang family selling children and mistreating their daughter. In law, I will be expelled from the house and never recognize him as the Yang family again. The head of the Yang family spoke up, and even if he was unwilling, the old man of the Yang family dared not speak up. Anyway, he had to give face to his own uncle. Otherwise, if there was a stalemate, it would not benefit anyone. So he reluctantly agreed. Sure, the visit of Murakami Li Chun and others was purely for supporting purposes and was not of any use. Yang Huai, the 3rd son of the Yang family, quickly went to his 6th brother's room to fetch paper, ink, and then used the stone table in the yard to ask the Yang family elder to personally write a divorce letter for the 4th son of the Yang family, Su Jinxiu, Yang Shu, Yang Yunyao, and Yang Songyang, who had no further involvement in the old house. Su Jinxiu was not satisfied with such a divorce letter. She also demanded that Yang Shu, Yang Yunyao, and Yang Song siblings, whether they were getting married or married, be poor or lucky. Yang Laowu and his family should not interfere or bully others with filial piety. Otherwise, she wouldn't mind fighting to the death, and everyone should go to hell together. Bitch, little prostitute, don't go too far. Mrs. Yang woke up and, with the help of Zhou and Lin, heard Su Jinxiu's request when she went out. She opened her mouth and cursed. Su Jinxiu's eyes were like knives, and she suddenly shot at her. She said in a cold voice, am I being too much, or are you being too much? How did you treat me and my child before? Don't you feel pressured? Why, are you planning to come back and compete with the 4 of us in the future? You're so calculating, but unfortunately, I'm not the same as before. Little prostitute, don't be complacent. When Huyen comes back, I see how long you can still be wild. Mrs. Yang felt even more confident when she thought of her powerful new daughter. In law, cursing and not convinced. End of this chapter.